Well, I wasn't expecting to like that so much. Yeah, that's just completely thrown me. So recently I've been playing a lot of slide guitar, and a lot of the time that's on this baritone here, which I love, and really this is my #1 guitar at the moment, but I sort of hold it separately in my mind to all the other guitars that I play. What I want to do today is really figure out which of my other guitars is great for slide, and I've picked out this Thorn Strat, this R9, which is the Peach Select top one, the vintage 335 with PAFs, the the gold SG, this very interesting Telecaster with the hipshot bridge, this Danocaster, and one I've never even tried playing slide at all on, this PRS. I'm intrigued to see how that feels. And then lastly, this Case Guitars Goldtop with Sunbear P90s in. And what I want is to pick 2 of these guitars. I want to keep one in standard guitar tuning to use for slide, and the other one I want to be able to convert into a sort of baritone, standard guitar size, but baritone sound like Joey Landreth, like Ariel Posen. In my mind all along it's been this particular Goldtop I wanted to do that to. But although I probably would never do that to this guitar, any of the other ones, I'm intrigued to think, what could I do? And once I've chosen which guitar that will be, we can do a video of me setting it up with 17 or 16 gauge strings, maybe having to alter the nut a bit, play with the truss rod, and see how it sounds. So I'm going to start with the Case Goldtop, and today's rig, the TS1, which is set in the clean channel and medium amount of gain. I'm going to be using the Ariel Posen Rock Slide, which goes on the little finger for me, and Dominion Fuzz over there, not too heavy on the fuzz. The slide rig for some compression, the Mjolnir, which I just love for playing slide with, that's a Klon clone. And then the Analog Man, which just gives that real thickness, warmth and meat on it. These are the SB56 P90s, or the Sunbear P90s, the 56 ones. I'll get that right somewhere on screen. So overall this guitar has a lovely feel. I find it comfortable. The neck is not incredibly slim, but quite slim, but beautifully shaped. And with that little slide on the little finger, it's just really comfortable actually to play like that. And the guitar is light. So this is a real contender for me to be my main slide guitar, or the one that I drop into baritone tuning with thicker strings. That's something I'm going to have to think about. But let's move on to another one which I've got a good idea about, the Gold SG. So I really think this one sounds great. I love the pickups in here, the custom buckers and this guitar together just work so well. My thoughts are, it takes me a minute to get used to playing slide on this, because this neck on this 64 reissue is actually really wide. It's much wider than that Case Guitars one. And the radius, I'm guessing the radius is the same, but the fact that the fretboard is wider, it just feels more cumbersome to get my finger around to put the slide on, because I don't play full slide generally. I tend to play with some standard playing and some slide, and so I need that speed to get back round. And then the action is just a bit too low, but it's so nice for playing normally that raising the action, I'm not sure if I want to do that. Okay, I thought I'd just step in here with the calipers to measure the 1st and 12th fret width on the SG and the Goldtop, and I did that, and they're very similar at the 1st fret. The SG 43.89, the Case 43.75, and at the 12th fret 52.7 mils on the SG and just under 52 on the Case. So there is a bit of a difference in the width. I don't know how massively significant those measurements are in that sense, but the SG has sort of a more shoulders on the back. This one is more rounded. And for my style of playing, which often has my thumb over the top and also playing slide at the same time, this just feels more comfortable to me. So sound wise, love it. Playing wise, it would need some work if it was going to be my main slide guitar. And I'm not sure if I'm willing to change this guitar, because it just sort of works great as it is. So I'm thinking about it, but I feel like this guitar could stay as it is and just be used occasionally for slide, but not as my main slide. Right, let's try. I'm intrigued to try a Les Paul. I've never actually played slide, I don't think, on a Gibson Les Paul, so let's go for it. Okay, again, I think this sounded really cool, although I think the fuzz might be a bit heavy on for this. It's again a bit like the SG, the setup is just not right. It's beautifully set up to play, it's pretty low action, really quite a low action. With that big wide fretboard there, it takes a minute to get used to it. But I would say it's slightly better than the SG in that respect. The SG has a particularly sort of flat feeling wide neck, which just makes your wrist, well, my wrist personally just go into a certain position, which is fine. You know, it's not a deal breaker, but there was something in the sound of this one that I've really enjoyed. Quite swampy, and swampy is always that sound I'm going for. So this could be a big decision for me if I was to change the setup slightly, to raise the action just slightly on this one. Again, this is going to be on the short list like the SG. I think what I want to try is the 335. Could this be just an amazing coincidence that it works perfectly for what I want with the slide, with those PAFs in there? Let's find out. So like the other Gibsons that I just played, there is something about the neck, the flatness of it, that maybe doesn't suit me 100%, or the width of it. But I've got to say, this sounded fantastic. And I think this has got 11s on it. So it's already got a decent thickness of string. I wouldn't want to raise the action because it's been set up. This was definitely a player guitar, this ES 335. And it's been set up so well by the previous player that I don't want to muck around with it. So I'd need to spend longer on this, but I think the sound might warrant this being used for slide quite a lot. I certainly wouldn't turn it into baritone tuning and change the strings massively and all of that. I'm not sure it could cope with it. You know, I'm not going to muck around with this vintage guitar that way. But as my standard slide, what if the Case Goldtop was my baritone tuned slide, very Joey Landreth, and this was my standard one? That's an option. Of the Gibson so far, there's not a lot in it, but I'm quite intrigued to play this beautiful PAF guitar with a slide. Sounds pretty swampy. Right, let's try a Strat. Let's go for the Thorn. Honestly, every time I play this guitar, it's probably my favorite guitar. Now this will be a 7¼ inch radius, and some people like a flat radius for slide. I really get on quite well with a curved radius like 7¼ I just feel quite comfortable. And then this guitar has the neck lacquer sanded off, and it's really smooth, so you just glide up and down easily. The pickups in here sounded pretty good to me for this sort of thing. And there's definitely space to have a Strat as a slide guitar alongside it being probably my main guitar anyway, as a hybrid sort of thing. So I certainly would not change this to be my baritone tuned standard. But it's already got a good action for slide. It's not too low. If you can see there, it's normal-ish. You know, for me, that's not super low. And it's just comfortable. You know, this Strat is light. Strats generally are comfortable. So I just got on with it. So yeah, definitely a contender. Well, I wasn't expecting to like that so much. Yeah, that's just completely thrown me. If you've been on my channel before, you know that I really like, you know, vintage style guitars, the vintage look and feel. If you watched that Rexall video with Zach from Mythos the other day, and they were doing PRS versus Rhett's Gibson, and Rhett was struggling to like the PRSs, even that he found to be great players. I pretty much fall into that category, but this particular special semi-hollow here is just such a great guitar for me. Sounds great, it's comfortable, it plays great, it's super light. And I just wasn't expecting that this would be the slide guitar I'd be after, because maybe, you know, it's a fault of mine, but that vintage aesthetic, the thought of it, the feel of it gets in the way for me of picking up a guitar that looks so modern and sort of declaring that to be my thing. But that's just, it is a bit silly, I'd have thought. So it's really going to make me think that felt pretty special to play like that. I'd love to know what you think in the comments about that guitar and how it sounded played slide with the fuzz and everything that made it sound. To me, that's the sound I want. Damn. Right, we've got a couple more guitars to try. So both Telecasters were fine to play. The Danocaster, the pickups just don't feel swampy enough for me. They're a bit too polite, and I love playing that guitar for sort of blues and BB King style stuff. And so I think that wouldn't be my slide guitar. But this one, on the other hand, the pickups are quite different. They're a bit more brash, a bit more swampy. The necks both necks are great to play. This one seemed to suit slide a little bit better. There's the option with this to do that drop D thing. And I think overall this was just sounded good to me. But yeah, I wouldn't have any trouble just picking this up, taking it out and playing slide on it all night. Yeah, sort of played like butter. Yeah, that's silly, I know. But I enjoyed that. Right, let's have a little think about what order I'd put these in and what one I'm going to turn into my baritone tuned guitar. So in some ways I'm left a little bit more confused than when I started, because I think what I've realized is as you get more practiced at playing with the slide, then there's slightly less of an issue about exactly how the guitar is set up. And I'm just getting into the rhythm with slide. I've been playing it for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. And you know, I'm not saying I haven't got a long way to go, but I'm finding it a bit easier to pick up a guitar and just play it with the slide the way I do. And but first few things are, I think the case Goldtop, which is back there, I really want to see what it's like if I sort of Joey Landreth it. So I think we need to do that in a video. I'm going to put 17s on it. I'm going to have to file the nut to make the slots wide enough. and change the, set up the truss rod and everything, and then tune it down to standard B like my baritone. I just want to really see what it's like. Worst case scenario, I'll end up getting a new nut made for it to return it back to standard. But that's all part of the process, the learning process with that. The other things are, all of the guitars were really pretty great sounding. I think the Telecaster sounded better when I was listening back than I thought it did. It has a really beautiful, sweet tone. This one here, I haven't got the lighting right now. And I think that would be good for certain more gentle Raikuda style slide stuff, which I want to get, learning. The Crazy Whiskey Caster, just brilliant for that swampy thing that I like. And all the Gibsons sounded great. Actually, I think on listening back, the 335 probably sounded best to me, then the Gold SG, and then the Les Paul. Just with that fuzz, it was a bit clangy. But the 335 probably played the best. But I'm still considering whether to raise the action on the SG a tiny bit, just to make it a little bit easier. And then what really got me was, well, the Strat, I knew I'd love it. I've played that quite a lot with slide, and so if I was going to play a Strat somewhere, I could take the slide, no problem. And the other thing is that Paul Reed Smith. It's such a versatile guitar between splitting the pickups or tapping the pickups, I should say, and all the different positions, and having the the whammy bar. I really enjoyed that. The neck was lovely to play with. So I'm going to spend a bit more time with that guitar, sort of making it one of my main slide guitars. And as usual, I probably overthought it. I can pick up any guitar at least and give it a stab. I do enjoy, the process of making these videos. I get to practice more and just think about what I'm really enjoying. But I'm looking forward to very soon doing that Goldtop, and I think that'll be a fun one to watch. We're going to hear what it sounds like when it's tuned down to standard B, or one of the open tunings with 17 gauge strings on it, and it's just going to be something new for me to try. But as it is, there's going to be some more content coming up about slide playing over the next week or two, about how to maybe set up your rig for slide in terms of pedals and the amp, talking through what slides I use and why, and maybe we'll figure out how to set up that SG as well perfectly for slide. So hope you've enjoyed this one. I'm going through a real slide thing at the moment, absolutely loving it. It feels like what I want to be playing. It suits my style, and so I just want to keep practicing it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I will be doing my giveaway later this week of the White Protein pedal. I hit 7,500 subs. So if you sub and comment before the end of the week, you can still be in that draw, and then I'll announce the winner. All right, see you next time.